everyone. We are working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content and it is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button right now as we proceed. Hey everybody, welcome back. And if you are a Filipino tennis fan, grab a tissue because today we are talking about the moment the lights went out at Indian Wells. We are talking about Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old Filipina sensation who turned the fifth biggest tennis tournament on the planet into her personal fan festival, and then watched Linda Noskova rip the whole thing apart in 56 brutal minutes. We are talking about empty stadiums, crashing viewership numbers, and a WTA marketing department that is currently sitting in a dark room somewhere in California wondering how they are going to sell a quarterfinal that nobody on earth asked for. This is the Eala effect. And Indian Wells just felt every single volt of it. Before we get into it, hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and drop a comment telling us whether you turned off the TV the second that handshake happened. We already know the answer. Let's go. Let's start with the scene that the tournament organizers were so proud of setting. Indian Wells thought they were being clever. They took one look at the tsunami of Filipino fans descending on the desert, felt the social media earthquake building underneath their feet, and made a very smart business decision. They bumped American fan favorite Amanda Anisimova off Stadium 1, the 16,100 capacity second largest tennis-specific stadium on the entire planet, and handed that court to Alexandra Eala, a 20-year-old, world number 28, playing a Czech power hitter ranked 14th in the world. From a pure optic standpoint, it was a genius move. The stadium filled. The noise was deafening. Every time Eala hit a decent volley, the crowd erupted like it was a World Cup final. The WTA got exactly the atmosphere they wanted: vocal, passionate, electric, and completely nationalistic in the best possible way. It lasted 56 minutes. That is how long it took Linda Noskova to completely dismantle the fairy tale and walk out of Indian Wells' best stadium with a 6-2, 6-0 scoreline tucked under her arm like Tuesday's newspaper. A bagel. A clean, ruthless, ice-cold bagel to close out the match. Noskova fired 7 aces. Eala had 0. It was less of a tennis match and more of a 56-minute masterclass in why Noskova is ranked where she is. She played like she had a flight to catch and genuinely did not care who was in her way. She was clinical, she was dominant, and she was completely indifferent to the fact that she was essentially the villain in front of 16,000 screaming fans. Credit where it is due, that is a mentally tough performance. But for everyone watching from Manila to Mississauga to Melbourne, it was absolutely devastating. And the moment that handshake at the net was finished, something fascinating and frankly terrifying happened if you work in the WTA's broadcast division. The viewership numbers did not just dip. They cratered. The party ended. The screens went dark. Millions of fans across the Philippines and the global Filipino diaspora who had been glued to their televisions, their phones, their laptops, simply moved on with their lives. Because here's the reality that the WTA is now confronting in real time. Their entire 2026 first quarter engagement strategy had one name on it. One face. One player. And that player is currently booking her flights to Miami. Look at the numbers and try not to laugh or cry, depending on your role in this situation. The BNP Paribas Open's YouTube channel runs on a steady diet of highlight clips pulling maybe 2,000 views on a good day. Then you hit the Eala content, and it looks like a completely different channel. The tournament's day-in-the-life video featuring Eala pulled nearly 100,000 views almost instantly. That is not a rounding error. That is a fundamental market reality staring the WTA directly in the face. They featured her in their Class of 2026 Instagram post alongside 7 top 10 players, veterans, Grand Slam champions, established stars, and she was the only one in that graphic without a major title to her name. They knew exactly what they were doing. And for as long as she was in the draw, it worked beautifully. Now, let's talk about the quarterfinal situation they are left with, because the sarcasm practically writes itself. Jasmine Paolini, one of last year's most compelling storylines, got sent home by Talia Gibson in a 7-5, 6-1 result. So now Indian Wells is staring down a Noskova versus Gibson quarterfinal. Noskova, the Czech powerhouse who just bageled the tournament's biggest draw. Gibson, an Australian qualifier who is genuinely making history as the first qualifier to reach the quarters in 11 years. On paper, it is actually a great story. In practice, the advertisers are probably staring at their contracts and asking very pointed questions right now. Even the broader tournament picture, which by any objective measure is compelling tennis, cannot seem to generate the same gravitational pull. World number one Aryna Sabalenka finally beat Naomi Osaka, a matchup that should be generating enormous coverage, and the conversation kept circling back to the empty chair Eala left behind. Sabalenka won 6-2, 6-4, and was thoroughly dominant, winning 70% of her service points. She is the best player in the world doing world number one things. But does the casual fan who tuned in specifically because of the Eala narrative care? The numbers say no. And the numbers do not lie. Here is what makes the Eala effect so uniquely powerful and so uniquely dangerous for any tournament she enters. It is not just Filipino fans. That is an oversimplification. Yes, there is a 100 million strong nation that treats every single point she plays like a World Cup penalty shootout. Yes, the Filipino diaspora turns every stadium she enters into a flag-waving, noise-making, emotionally invested block party. But beyond that core, there is a massive casual audience that gets swept up in the narrative. The story of a 20-year-old who went from ranked 140 in the world to ranked 28 in a single year. The girl who took out Jasmine Paolini. The player who had Coco Gauff retiring hurt. People love a giant slayer. Casual fans especially love a giant slayer. And when the giant slayer gets bageled off the court in under an hour, the casual audience moves on to whatever narrative is next on their feed. They do not stick around for baseline consistency from the 14th seed. They came for the movie, and the movie ended early. Tournament director Philippe Dor has openly said he loves every minute of the Eala effect and actively promotes it. And you believe him. Right up until the moment she loses and the stadium empties and the viewership graphs fall off a cliff. The hard question is whether the WTA actually has a plan to convert that enormous, passionate, temporary audience into long-term tennis fans. The current evidence suggests the answer is not yet. They know how to ride the wave. They do not yet know how to catch the water once it pulls back. And let's be clear about what Eala herself is taking away from all of this, because her story is not a sad one. She leaves Indian Wells ranked a career-high 28th in the world. She leaves with prize money of $15,720, roughly 6.3 million pesos for those doing the conversion at home. She leaves having beaten players ranked above her. She leaves having created an atmosphere at a major WTA event that genuinely rivaled anything the sport has produced in the post-Serena era. She said herself she leaves with happiness. And she should. The 6-0 second set loss to a top 15 player on a bad day is a data point in a career trajectory that is still pointing sharply upward. Miami is next. She has 390 ranking points to defend from her incredible run there last year. The story is far from over. But for Indian Wells, the desert went quiet. The most expensive seats in the house have a few more days of tennis left in them, and the people who fill them will be the committed hardcore fans, the ones who watch regardless of storylines. The Filipino flags are being folded. The trending hashtags are migrating east toward South Beach. And somewhere in the WTA offices, someone is building a presentation about engagement metrics that nobody is going to enjoy sitting through. The lesson Indian Wells is learning this week is the same one every tournament learns eventually. You can build the biggest stadium in the world, book the best players, and make every logistical decision perfectly, but you cannot manufacture the kind of raw, organic, nationalistic electricity that Eala generates. You can only borrow it. And when it leaves, all you can do is watch the numbers and wait for Miami. The party moved on. The quiet is deafening. And if you are sitting there nodding along, furious on Eala's behalf, excited for her Miami campaign, or just genuinely stunned by how completely one player shifted the entire energy of a major tournament, hit that like button, subscribe right now, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Was the WTA too dependent on the Eala effect? Can she bounce back in Miami and defend those ranking points? Let's talk about it. We will see you in the next one.